put in an archaeological test pit in a site here on Woody Island, and we're standing on a knoll overlooking a former lagoon that was used 3,000 years ago by the people living here, resource-rich area, at a time when the climate was changing rapidly. And we know that 3,000 years ago, and a little before that, was the period known as the Neoglacial. The temperatures went from quite a bit warmer to quite a bit cooler than they are now. And when that happened, the water level fell by about 2 meters, and this lagoon began to fill up, and then the site was abandoned. This is the 1912 land surface, and immediately below it starts the village from the village from the Kachemak period, from about 3,000 years ago. And this, I'm standing in a large processing area where fish was smoked and processed during a time when there was a real premium on storing and processing food, because this is a very difficult time period for people. It was cold, there was a regime shift, much like we're undergoing now, and it was an emergency situation in terms of adapting to a changing climate and a changing menu.
On Woody Island, our religion was basically Russian when I was a kid growing up. We belonged to the Russian Orthodox religion. And this site that I'm standing in right now is the site of the old Russian church, chapel. It's called the Annunciation Chapel, that served the people way before my time. I was baptized in this church. I remember going to services at a very young age. It has since been torn down. When I was a kid, these trees didn't exist, and this was the chapel area of the church. It's hard to believe, but it was. And most of my family went to church here in this church. I remember Christmases and the choir singing. Very beautiful. After the population of Woody Island dropped beyond a certain percentage, it didn't warrant to have a priest coming over here to have services anymore, so the church was more or less abandoned.
Oh, definitely. This was a magic place to grow up. You can still see Kodiak from here, and when we were growing up, we could, I look at it, the outline is so crisp, but you could still, looking across the channel there, it's covered with fog now, and there's a lot more houses now than there were then, but you could hear the cars, you could hear dogs barking and people talking. The sound carries so well across the water, and on quiet summer afternoons and evenings, you can hear a lot of sound from Kodiak itself. And so even though it's a mile away, we were separated by a mile of water, so you're close but not stuck in it. We had the freedom of the island here. Mom and Dad didn't have to worry about bears or vicious dogs. The occasional big cow, but you know, the most vicious thing we had over here were rabbits, maybe. So we had the freedom to pretty much do what we want. I remember spending a lot of my summers just hanging a spool of thread with a hook on it over the edge of the dock and catching little blue kelp cod, we called them, just whiling away the hours. We spent a lot of time on the beaches. We were when the weather was like this and we felt like camping out, Mom would let us take our bedrolls down any one of the beaches here just above the high tide mark, and we'd get to spend the night on the beach, build a campfire and toast marshmallows. Of course, we hid back to the house for the breakfast in the morning, but in the summertime, when Dad was gone fishing, before he left in the spring, he would put up a great big wall tent. He had a 10 by 12 canvas wall tent, and he would put that up, and we'd move our cots out and our bedrolls, and the kids would spend the summer in the tent. Mom would have the house to herself, which would kind of give her a vacation, and the tent we could have all the kids over that we wanted to, and make as much noise and stay up as late talking as we wanted to without bothering Mom.